We are activating your unique self-discovery one show at a time. The Orchard of Wisdom Self-Discovery podcast are at your fingertips, just waiting to inspire and invite you in discovering just how awesome you really are and how to navigate through life in joy, enrichment, personal abundance, in mind, body, spirit, heart, and soul. All the people we bring you are here to serve you on your journey of life. Do enjoy our next show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Sarah's View of Life, right here on Self-Discovery Media. Are you writing a memoir? I am, and I find it rather daunting. There's something about having to write a story about yourself. Now, I can talk to other people about things that have happened in my life when they interview me, or even when I'm doing an interview and we're sharing. That's no problem. But when you've actually got to sit there and kind of write, it can be rather daunting. And yes, I have been keep putting it off and putting it off by being too busy. But now I've actually carved out time this summer where there will be no shows because I'm going to write this book. Putting pen to paper about one's life. How does one go about it? Well, for a start, I'm more of an article writer than I am a chapter writer. And it's also easy for me to say this happened and that happened, but to actually put it down. See, in a lot of ways, I've let a lot go. The memory is there, very clear, but I've let go of the attachment to that memory or the pain that that memory gave me. And so to kind of write it about again in a way with kind of feeling, it's more writing it as an observer. Something I'm going to have to get around as I'm writing. I think we have a hard time writing about ourselves because will people believe us with the stories we have to tell? Will people want to even read it? Are they even interested in your story? What will other people think? Oh, then comes the judgment. Why did you say this? Why did you put that in? Oh, that can't be true. You know, all of those things. And it is something that I respect out of people who've put their memoir out. I know it was kind of like birthing another child themselves. And it's where they are the most vulnerable, but also the most strongest. Because in that strength and that courage to do that memoir, to reveal the things that have happened to them, to show how they've overcome them, to show how they've taken that next step forward and become who they are today, mostly because of what happened to them before. Those are the kind of stories that I love to interview about or to read about because they really do make you feel connected. They make you feel, I hear you, I see you, I'm one of you. You may not have exactly the same journey, but you know that there's some synchronicity there where you do feel that this could be parallel lives. So yes, I'm struggling to write, and what I'm doing right now, which is probably against every writer's workshop, is I am literally just writing, just letting it come out and just writing. And it might be a page or two at a time. In the summer, I hope to get more out of it when I close off doing shows, and just let what needs to come out. And then afterwards, I will look at how it needs to be arranged and what goes where. As I said, I'm not going to be doing a chapter book. It's going to be more based on articles of certain things that happened in my life. And they're not going to be in one place, scattered through the book. And not linear, no linear, because I don't work linear. I'm all over the place. So I've got to follow my own current, right? So I don't know if anyone will read it, but I have been asked for it for a long time. I know the next book will be much easier because that is more to do with the impact doing these shows for the last 10 years has done for me. Becoming a podcaster, becoming someone who shares these wonderful stories with people from around the world. All of that is something I definitely really do want to do to share those stories. But as everyone said, but where's your story, Sarah? We trust you with ours. Where's yours? So it's coming. Now, I know there are a lot of workshop people, so you can write your book in a weekend. And maybe you could. The thing is, when you zone in, no other interruptions, you can just pour the creativity out, then yes, maybe you could, depending on what you're writing. But I don't know about you. As we get older, there's different memories that suddenly pop up in your mind. And even just talking here right now, I've just remembered another memory. And they're going to go down as they are remembered. And as I said, they could be sorted out later. I'm not sure if you can plug in and get all of those memories in one weekend and be able to put it into something articulate. I know that my brother is an author and he's written many, many books, and it can take, a few months to write a book. And then there's the editing and the rewriting. And then obviously going to the publishers and the book cover and everything else. It is an entire production. I haven't got there yet. I've just got to get the content down. But I will. It won't be a big book. It might be the first, who knows? I don't know. That's the point. I'm stepping into my knowingness and plucking out some of those memories. I'm not trying hard to remember. As I write, I remember. As I speak or do other things that comes into mind, I can jot down a note as a prodding of that memory. And I've done some incredible things. Yes, I've I've taken some paths I shouldn't have taken. I've taken some chances I shouldn't have taken. I've leapt before knowing I have a parachute on. I've done all those foolish things in life, and I have fallen and I've crashed, and I've had to rebirth and regrow myself many times. And I've weathered those storms. Am I a little battered for it? Yes. A little beaten up? Yes. A few scars? Yes. But I'm still alive. I'm still productive. I'm living in my passion, and I'm grateful for, after all of that, then I'm actually still standing. So if you feel you have a story inside of you, and many of us do, and I can tell you again from 10 years of podcasting and sharing other people's stories of how somebody else's story, their memoir, can be so impactful on somebody else's life. It gives us permission to be that awesome person that you are. It gives permission to the times that you were broken and down and out. It gives the permission to that you are enough, and your strength and your courage and your triumph over all that you have been through has made you awesome. You are awesomely flawsome. And it gives that permission for you to stand tall in your own life. I think everybody that's written a memoir looks back, goes, oh my God, I didn't know I felt that way, or I didn't know this could happen. And it can be quite extraordinary, can't it? When we look back and we see what we have achieved and what we've done, it really can be quite extraordinary. So book writing I'm going to be doing, and we'll see how it works. I will have to find an editor that is of my style and of spirit, because I write in flow. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I've got to do after this, isn't there? But in the meantime, I've just got to get it down. Making time, which was my show last week, time out. It's okay to take time out to do something that you really want to do. Last week's show was about that, taking time out. For me, taking time out to write the book. Maybe it's taking time out to be more with family, more with yourself, more with something else other than what you're doing. And it's okay to say, I need time out. I need some me time, or I've got a project on I want to finish and I need to be dedicated to it. It's okay. If you've got younger children, if you've got to get somebody in to come in and look after them while you do this, okay. Call on family members, great. Your spouse, if you have one. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't stick around and raise families together. Be there for each other. If somebody's got a project on they really are passionate about, be supportive and be there for them, because that's what it's about. I remember when I first told my mum and my sister I was going to write my memoir, and this was quite a few years ago, they went up in arms. Don't air your dirty linen in public. And I thought, what makes you think I've got dirty linen to reflect on? There's a lot of people that are very afraid of telling their story because of family members, because will they understand, will they read it, will they care, or are they just so paranoid that they're going to be reflected badly that they don't want you to write a book? Or if you write a book and you are reflected well and you don't even mention them, then they're going to get mad. So, whatever you do, understand that when you write a memoir, it's for you to share with whoever wishes you to share it with. And if others aren't in agreement with it, they don't have to read it, right? They don't have to read it. So we have to be mindful that don't put spite and hate in a book. There's a lot of things that I wish hadn't been done to me, and I hate the fact that they were. But one has to understand the psychology around why did it happen, and now you have to also take onus sometimes of why it happened. And don't beat yourself up. Don't come up with a memory and then, oh God, and you beat yourself up. What was I doing? Why did I think straight? What made me walk into that? Well, your mindset at the time did. Where you were in your psyche did. The person you are today would never do that. But the person you were then didn't know any better. So whether family members or not, up in arms of what you're going to say, if it's a memoir, it's about you. If it reflects them and something that happened with them, always be respectful when you're writing about them. You're writing it from your perspective, not a damnation or criticism, from your perspective. This is what happened. This is how I felt. This is what it did to me. What their part in it is up to them and their owners. But don't write a hate book, please. That not only harms the people you've written about, but it harms you as well. And quite honestly, there's a hell of a lot of hate out there in the world that we don't need to read a book on it. So let your memoir be a celebration of you. Despite all the pits and falls and the Grand Canyons you've fallen into, let it be a celebration of you, your journey to being you. And I think my book title is going to be Sarah Becoming Sarah. I don't know. I have a few book titles running around in my head and I'm not sure which one I'm going to go with. And I think when the book is finished, it will name itself. I know a lot of people prefer to be organized. And as I said, there's plenty of authors' workshops up there that can tell you, you need to have your name of your book, a name of every chapter, a thought of what's going to go on in every chapter, and do your chapters linearly. I can't do that. I can't do that because I just work differently. So for me, it's just writing it and then sorting it and see where it goes. I think that sometimes getting things down, whether you're writing that memoir for you or for someone else, getting it down and having the reflection on your life is something that could be quite precious to you and to the loved ones after you've gone. If you decide never to publish this, but just becomes part of your legacy to pass on to your children, and they read it, they have a better understanding of who you are or who you were. And perhaps through it, they may learn to take different paths themselves. Very often, it's very hard to teach our children once they get to a certain age. They know everything. They're unwilling to hear from you anymore. In a lot of ways, you've become obsolete. So be prepared for that if you have teenagers up, right? They get to a point where they know, as teenagers, they know it all. Their eyes start rolling. And then they get into their 20s and they're king and queens of the hill. And they get into their 30s and realize that hill, it was quicksand. And then they feel, because they've gone through their own battles, they know it all, and they then want to turn around to you and say, you should do it like this and should do it like that. And They mean well, I know, but it's also apply to self. Apply to self. I know there's a lot more things I could be doing to make my life easier, but I do what I can do within the parameters of what I can do. And I am content with my life. Do I wish to achieve more? Absolutely. I have got a goal that I want to reach before I die. Do I wish I had more financial security? Absolutely. I open my bank vault to let it rain in, but we are pre-recession and coming into a recession. And if the money trickles my way, fantastic, because there'll be so many more people to help, and that money will go to helping people. I hope that happens, but in the meantime, I plod along. I am the year of the horse, the Chinese sign. And I used to be not a race horse, a show horse. Then, I became the breeding horse, and now I'm a plodder. Maybe just taking the small kid out for a nice little jog around. No big hurdles, no big wild rides, just a nice pleasant thing. And I never thought I'd become a plodder. I was always that person exuberant, just out there, just absorbing life and wanted it all now. And things slow you down and they make you focus and they put you in a direction that you need to go in. And you become that plodder and you don't mind because you realize that every single step that you take is important. It's so very important to your well-being, to your journey, because every single foot that you're walking, you're seeding possibilities of illumination for others. So you'll get most older people say, slow down, take a breath, be present, take it in. It's because we've learned the hard way. And we're trying to make it easier in you guys so that you don't have to have the cosmic 2x4 or land in the Grand Canyon. So my book is in the process. Now, when you have a book finished and you know which order it's going to go in, you need to have someone you trust that also knows grammar and punctuation, but also knows what you're trying to say. Just getting an editor that is a clinical editor, they may take words out of there that are really relevant to your story. So finding an editor that is in sync with who you are, the vibe of who you are, the frequency that you work on, is very important because they'll understand your flow, they'll understand what it is you're trying to say, and they can edit in that light and see things perhaps from the outside in of rearranging, or I need a little more content here or a little less here, but somebody that honors your word and your memory and not try to slice and dice it into a nice little neat package. Then I want you to look at a book designer. Now, there are plenty out there, but look to yourself. Can you draw? What is it that you want to represent you on that book cover? And to remember, the book cover and the back cover are very important. People look at the book cover, then they turn around to the back to look at the content there, where you're going to have a blurb of what it's all about, and maybe your picture. One thing I do recommend, because it never really looks great, is a black book with red writing. It just, go for something vibrant, clean and vibrant, with a great something that draws everybody to it. And of course, if it's about you and your life and your struggles, and if there's something in particular that you've had to struggle with, then have some representation of that on the book cover. But it is about you becoming you, or the memoir of you, of how you have become you. Make sure that's represented in the book color and the colors as well. So if you're working with a designer, have them maybe even read parts of the book to know where the essence is. Ask you what your favorite colors are, what images that you really love in life, and let them represent you and doing that book cover. Then, of course, the publisher. Now, you can self-publish with Lulu, and there's quite a few others, which at the present moment I can't think of. And you can self-publish. Now, I can tell you this, even if you are published by other publishers, you are still going to have to do your own advertising. Podcasts, you'll go on other podcasts to share about your book. You write articles sharing about your book. You're on your social medias sharing about your book. And if you're lucky enough to get into bookshops that have your book, you can go and do book signings. But even having a publisher, do not sit back thinking they're going to do all the work for you. They've published it. That's it. It's now up to you. Publishers used to take more on. They don't anymore. They just publish your book. If they've bought your book and if they publish it, then they may pay you something and how much afterwards. So there's a lot to be said about self-publishing or getting a reputable, like iHeart, can't remember the name. They have a book, a section there. If you can get them to print, to publish it for you, then great, because then you are represented in the right arena. Make sure whoever you go with, if you go with anyone, that they actually do feature your type of story. It may be your memoir, but the contents of that memoir, is it something they feature? Will it stand out? Is it going to get lost in the crowd? There's a lot of questions to ask. I've had quite a number of publishers on my shows where they've talked about the process of books and what to do, and they do publishing themselves. Going with a small company is always good because they're more diligent and they work with you, and that's really important. But those are all the things that come after the story. Get the story down. As I said, whether it's just for the family or friends, or whether it's something that you really want to get out there because you feel it will help other people, just get it out there. And I'm talking to me here right now. So this summer content, whatever I've got, is going to go out. The fall, I will then be putting it together. Whether it will come out for Christmas, I don't know. Then I concentrate on the next book. And the next book is the Forgotten Children series. And this one is a chapter from each person who represents children in any way, whether they have a foundation, a charity, an organization, or their education. They are people that will participate a chapter in the book. And I will be fundraising for that in September to cover all the costs of the book. And then funds from that book will be equally distributed to the organizations that they represent to support them, because we are supporting the supporters. So that book will be out in the spring, and that's the next one I have to get on with. And of course, I do 6 to 8 shows a week. So yeah, I have to do some things in my sleep. But write that book, tell that story, just get it down. Your life does count. Please don't say, oh, I've had a boring life, I haven't done anything. And then we find out you've been through this and you've been through that, and this happened to you and that happened to you. Write it down. Even read it to your friends. See the impact it has on them. We learn best from the people that have gone before us. We learn best from the people who have gone through the struggles and found a way out, found a way into that truly abundance and enrichment of life and of service, of being there for one another. And if your journey is taking you to that spot, please share your journey. Please write it down and then come here as Self-Discovery Media and share it with us and our audience, because your story matters. It matters to you and it matters to us because we learn a great deal from it. God knows what you're going to learn from mine. I don't even know yet, but let's wait and see, okay? So if you're thinking of writing a memoir, or maybe even writing a novel, you've got a story in your head that you want to get out, get it out, write it out. Forget about the editing, forget about who's going to read it, forget about all of that, just pour it out. Virtually every author I have interviewed said there was a book in them that was just battling to get out. And when they set it set free a whole writing spew of other books. So start writing. Start for you. Read it back. You'll be very, very surprised when you just allow yourself to write without thinking. Just let it write. And when you read it back, the impact it even has on you. Okay? So speak to you next week, folks. Have a good one. Bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Find all of our shows on selfdiscoverymedia.com under podcasts or self-discovery-media/shows. And for all our current shows, go to What's New. We are supported by you, the audience. You'll see a nice big shiny blue button for one-time donations or follow us on Patreon and you will be able to support us there. We enjoy bringing you such wisdom. And the next show will be up in just a moment.